All right, all right, all right. I don't have any of the bells and whistles because I'm not paying for that stuff right now. And actually, nobody's watching, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I really enjoy these little sound effects. But I am coming live tonight, and I'll just do it myself. Whatever, I don't care. Oh, hey, buddy, how are you? It's good to see you. You get this. Thank you for joining me. I am doing something that I don't normally do and something that I'm not terribly comfortable with. I entered an art competition called the People's Artist. And hi, nice to see you. Um, so I am doing this to promote myself, which I'm very uncomfortable with. I can promote all kinds of things, but myself, that feels a little weird to me. But I wanted to share. I'm also going to share first. I'm going to go ahead and share the link in the chat for people if they do choose to want to. Come on, why didn't it do that? Come on. Okay, there we go. So I've got this link here. Hopefully it's clickable. But let's go ahead and go over my my profile. Okay, so this is my profile. And then here is to vote. Now, to be fair, you can vote once every 24 hours, and it is tied to Facebook. So if you don't have a Facebook, you can't do a free vote every day, and that's fine. I know so many people that don't have Facebook, and I understand. I still do. I don't know why they tie it to that. I think that maybe they're just trying to make sure that no artists have purchased bots in order to, I don't know, skew their voting. But I did start the day on May 4th, Monday. The majority of that day I was in first place in my group, which I'm actually very proud of, in fact. But I'm earlier today I was down to sixth. Now I'm back up to fifth in my group. And as you can see here, that is how many hours or how many days and hours until the top 20 vote ends on the 14th at 7 p.m. Pacific. So there'd be 10 o'clock Eastern. And so this is my profile, and it says here, just my little blurb. If I'm not creating, something feels missing. It's how I breathe through words, photos, and art that speak what I can't say. And so if you scroll down, it says, what is your favorite type of art to create? Asking me to choose a favorite art form feels like asking me to choose between my can'ts. I simply can't. My passion for creating runs deep enough that I love every form I explore. Each medium offers its own language, its own way of being understood. Still, writing has been with me the longest, a steady companion through every season. So I suppose it's fair to call it my first love. Where do you find inspiration? Inspiration meets me everywhere, within every sound, every scent, every fleeting moment. Sometimes it arrives unannounced, a quiet idea rising above the noise. Living with a restless, ever churning mind can be overwhelming, a constant search for something to soothe it. But I discovered that on that art could hold that chaos, shape it, and give it meaning. Through creation, what once felt loud becomes something I can finally understand. And then finally, they ask, what would you do with the $25,000? Because what you get with this is a feature in Artforum magazine, $25,000 in cash, and an exhibition an exhibition at the Art of Elysium studio in Los Angeles. So what I would do with the $25,000 is launch a pilot program dedicated to survivors emerging from the troubled teen industry, offering them a safe, creative space to process and express their experiences. Through guided art, writing, and visual storytelling, participants could begin to transform pain into voice and reclaim their sense of self. This program would center healing, autonomy, and community, helping survivors move forward with dignity and creative empowerment. So then we go into my pictures, and it doesn't start with my profile picture. I don't know why that's on there, but this is a photograph that I took of a friend's daughter, and I call it reflection because all I did was pull the light from those little tea lights that you see there and captured her reflection in that makeup mirror. And I absolutely love that photo. This I'm very proud of. I call this American Dream. And this was taken, this my friend Will, and there was a place in St. Petersburg, Florida called the Blueberry Patch. And it was this really cool hippie commune place. And it was so much fun to go there. I have more photos that I made there. But this is something that I'm very, very proud of. And this is the Renaissance Center as taken from Hart Plaza in downtown Detroit. So this is right on the water. And that what you see right there is a fountain that now it works regularly. It didn't for many years, but it's really beautiful when it does work. And the Renaissance Center is about to be mostly torn down, but the main building in the middle, which is the hotel, is going to stay there. But General Motors has left and abandoned that building, which really is a drag. So let's see. Next up, I made this collage painting for my friend Barbie, and it's really simple. It's kind of everything kind of started from an artichoke that I found. She really likes artichokes, and she was graduating from massage school, so I made that. This is a really cool. I found this place called the Style Station, 2008. It had to be. In Texas, around Waco, Texas, off of I-35. Just this little thrift resale store, and they had this cool El Camino with this mannequin, and it caught my eye immediately, and I pulled over. And the next this actually used to be Detroit Police Precinct Substation 8, believe it or not. Now they've turned it into lofts because, everything cool in cities has to be turned into something else. And I gave it an old photo, like Hasselblad photography photo of this as an effect. This is the 10 buried Cadillacs off of I-40 in Amarillo, Texas. And what's really, really cool about this is that there's always spray paint just laying on the ground. And you can spray paint whatever you want on these 1950s 1950s Cadillacs. And then I call this the castle, but this is the GAR building in downtown Detroit, and it sat abandoned for decades. And it's probably my favorite ruin that is no longer a ruin. I'm really happy that it's thriving and usable again. This was the GAR, and this was where the Civil War veterans would go and hang out with each other, like we have VFW and American Legion, those types of places. This was a Civil War veteran place, which I think was pretty cool. This photo was, I went to Barack Obama's inauguration in January of 2009, and I knew that it was going to be history in the making. So regardless of knowing him or not, I still wanted to go, even though I had met him the year before, and we talk and we follow each other on Twitter, and that's great. But I wanted to capture the feeling of this. And one of the things that stood out to me was the protest against Guantanamo Bay and shutting it down. And I found it to be very powerful. Thank you. And this I call Switcher. I used to live in this town called Plymouth, Michigan, and it's surrounded by trains. And in this spot right here, you can see that that's the Switcher. So you could either go straight or curve. So you could go up north in Michigan or curve to go west towards Western Michigan and then eventually Chicago. My father has a fascination with trains. I think I kind of I guess I inherited that, but mostly just from my artistic eye, really liking to get down in the tracks and take a photo. And if you notice, there's a right here, there's a train coming, so that's pretty funny, I think. I used to live next door to this. This right here is the first reclaimed window that I ever turned into a chalkboard. It's something that I did. I refurbished old windows when I lived in Tennessee and made. Thank you. I appreciate that. I like the low level perspective too. My artistic eye tends to be a little crooked, or I just. But anyway, so I do a lot of different types of art. In the singing and dancing stuff, I couldn't really put that stuff on there, but I did include some writing as well. But this was my first attempt, and I really loved the rugged look of, after sanding it down, there's multiple colors of paint on this window, and then I did the chalkboard in the middle, and I'm very proud of that. This is a picture, I call it Room for Rent. And I found this abandoned house in Antioch, Tennessee. And this was in one of the bedrooms, and all the windows were basically busted out, and you could see all the glass here. And then this flipped over frame. This one I call Chief. It was a chief, a native chief. Actually, I think it might have been like a bookend that belonged to one of my former boyfriends, and I put it in the window for backlighting, and I just really loved using the sepia tones with this I just really liked it. Oh, this is a poem that I wrote in 2007 called Shattered Dreams. You probably can't read it, so I'll just go ahead and read it. This is from 2007. It's a beautiful soul passes as it collides with a tree. Left behind are heavy, broken, shattered hearts. 35 years. Is that really enough? Two people finally find what they believe to be the love of their lives, and in an instant, it's all taken away in the drunken hands of a selfish fool who shouldn't have been behind the wheel to begin with. He literally walked away from the scene, called for a ride, walked past my bleeding friends, caught his ride, went home and passed out. What the fuck? What's left behind are two crushed families, a lost love, friend, aunt, sister, daughter, sassy, hot bartender. But she was much more than that. There will be no cute snapshots of their bedroom wall, no love nest, no future ska babies. The first Tuesday, he lost his dad. Second Tuesday, he lost his love. Third Tuesday, he went back to sleep. In honor of Christy and Tony and the love they shared, and in loving memory of Christy and her beautiful soul. Rest in peace. Oh, shoot. Okay. So this is another one of my favorite photographs that I've ever made. And what I didn't know about this building in particular, this is an abandoned post office or Detroit school building. And I can't remember which one it was, but I have a photo of the stairwell too. And we didn't go downstairs, luckily, because in the basement, there was a man not alive, frozen on his back in the basement with his, but only reason you could tell that it was a person was his leg was sticking out of the ice. It's crazy to think that that man was down there while I was in here taking these photographs. This I'm very proud of. If you look at, this is Soundgarden, and I very purposefully focused only on Chris Cornell. This was in 2011 in Virginia. I don't remember the city, but I was doing an 8-month-long program in Washington, D.C. at the time, and one of my friends was a was a bus driver for Soundgarden, so I was able to go and see them, and it was spectacular. And I really love this shot because you can get the feel of the show, but I just really felt like, and this was the very first song, and it's my favorite Soundgarden song, which is Searching for a Friend with My Good Eye Closed. And it's just, if you know Soundgarden, you need to know that song. It's I'm very proud of that. And this is this is a collage that I did recently, just very simple. Um, did a It took a bunch of cuttings from a newspaper that were in relation to the auto industry and just trying to stay alive in Detroit, being that I'm live in Detroit and from Detroit, just kind of like, a little me down here and then Detroit. We have a statue of the thinker outside the Detroit Institute of Arts, which is known as actually one of the greatest art museums in the world. So it's just a little simple something that I did, nothing terribly good. This is called Imagination Station. And this was a really great place in the same neighborhood where that abandoned building was. And unfortunately, it was two houses, and they were kind of fused together to make this place. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the photos, the lights, the way that they shone down on the. Let's go back to that. I agree. The way that they shone down onto the crowd, so that the band could see, they could see the reaction from the fans, which people don't really think that artists want that, but they really do. Knowing a lot of musical artists, I know that they do. So unfortunately, somebody burnt the Imagination Station down, which makes me really sad. It was a great place to go and create art and have an artistic community. And somebody decided that they didn't like it in the neighborhood. So this, unfortunately, is another really sad story. I feel like every city in America that is building itself up and gentrifying and doing all these things, they steal these these beautiful places. And this is Emblad, which is a museum of African art and beads, and this whole building is collaged, and it's stunning. And it wasn't just this building. They had 3 buildings and this great area in the back. And I had to actually shoot, I should put that up there. I did a great photo shoot there, as they had like a table, and we brought the teacups and teapots, like throw a tea party a la Alice in Wonderland. But unfortunately, now this has all been torn down as well, and that makes me really sad. I call this Baywatch. This is a lifeguard station in Malibu, California. I took that in 2008, and I love using the retro vibe with my photos. I try not to do too much editing, but I do a little bit. But this one I didn't. I just changed the setting to be a vintage retro look. This is the abandoned home that the bedroom is in. And what I love about this photo is the beams of light. If you look at the beams of light here and how you've got these really distinct, what do you call those things? And then right here, you have a little bit of a rainbow down here in the corner, but these like orbs. It's a blue orb and this greenish yellow orb. And I didn't even notice that until after I took the photo, but it's a real dichotomy. This house is sitting on a hill and it's completely abandoned. All around it is this beautiful wooded area. Every time I see an abandoned home, it makes me a little sad, because you don't know the history of the home. But so there's that. Oh, this is the second photo of the shut down Guantanamo protesters at the 2009 inauguration. I was doing a photo essay, and I did everything in black and white, specifically for a reason, because of our president being inaugurated was a mixed race man, and I wanted it to feel like history. and I feel like it did. The only thing is that I did a disservice to the protesters because they were wearing orange prison outfits. So I feel like I should have taken their photos in color. I did not. This I call irony because you've got an empty trash bin right here and all this trash laying on the ground. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Happy to have you here. The irony of this is on Jefferson Avenue, right where the Renaissance Center and Hart Plaza. Hey, Darcy, it's good to see you. And I don't know, this kind of just, it summed up Detroit for me back in this era. This is 2008. And just how we have the trash receptacle right here, but hey, there's all the trash. And that really, stood out to me. And, oh, why is the house on there twice? So now, remember I said it was, all this beautiful wooded area behind it, right? And then you have all this trash. This was a washing machine. This was a rug. And there's just all this random wood. And it looks like this house had a really beautiful view at one time and was a nice 3-bedroom home in Antioch. This is a church door in Detroit. And just, I have a fascination with red doors. Absolutely love red doors. I don't know why. But what really got me is this is the church, right? Everybody's welcome. But, thank you, Kimbe. I appreciate you. Yes, and everybody can vote once every 24 hours, by the way. But the no sleeping, it really got to me because I think of everywhere in the United States, but, in Detroit, we don't have a lot of great resources for our homeless population. And for a church to say, don't sleep on our stoop, that bugged me. So that is why I made this photo. Okay, so this one's called A Box of Letters. And I'm actually going to make it a little easier for myself. If you give me 1 second, I'm going to go to WordPress so that I can actually read this because it's so small. Just bear with me 1 second. Everybody knows I'm not the most professional streamer content creator on YouTube, but then again, I only have 5 people in here, so who cares? All right, so I still to this day have a WordPress called The Struggling Optimist Tale. If anybody's interested in that, I can go ahead and put that in here. Thank you, Misha, for once again posting that link. There is the link to my very old WordPress. Now, this one, like I said, is called Box of Letters. I think it speaks for itself. I don't have to get into the story, but as soon as I find it, I will read it to you. It meant a lot to me. I actually I wrote this while watching a bunch of people doing spoken word at this poetry slam when I lived in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I just got really inspired because I had just left useless, pointless, I don't know why I was in it, relationship. And this was somebody that I knew before we were together. And when the relationship started, he was in prison and I was recovering from a car accident, and we were writing each other letters. And I'm talking because I'm still scrolling to find where the heck this thing is. For a while, I did a thing. If you go to my WordPress, a lot of these titles are Rolling Stones song titles. It's pretty funny. Okay, so A Box of Letters. I fell in love with a box of letters full of empty promises written but not kept. Shattered dreams, plans never fulfilled. From the moment you walked through those gates toward your freedom, your singular goal was to break me. I remember you asking me once if I could imagine the pain of waiting, hoping, fearing, hurting for an entire month. Well, I ask you this now. Can you imagine the pain of sleepless nights, waiting for the sound of your key fumbling in the lock, the fear of waking next to you, not knowing which version of you it was, the kick in the gut from your consistent character assassinations, the lies, the girls, the guys, the drugs, the humiliation for a year and a half. See, you never saw in you what I did. Guess I was just looking too hard for something I wished was there, because I sure never saw him once you got your freedom back. I fell in love with you like they did back in those poorly overacted World War II movies, but the reality was 180 degrees different than that fantasy. Nursing your wounds after bar brawls and gutter falls, forgiving things unforgivable, ultimate betrayals, deal breakers, time and time again, allowing you to steal my soul like a succubus in the night. So I can't say one of these words, but let me get this straight. You wouldn't suck my bleep while you sucked away my light, my spirit, my soul, immature and premature, a combination I could no longer fake enjoyment of. And while we're on the subject of sex, what there was of it, short, cold, and passionless, no soft fingers caressing my skin into goosebumps, no taking the time to know every inch of each other's bodies, cold and heartless, that's what I got. I guess it was easier to imagine I was one of the many you craved and indulged in. I grew tired of being your receptacle. Shit, my vibrator cared more about pleasing me than you ever did. One last question before I let you go. If you truly knew me better than anyone, no, wait, if I truly knew you better than anyone, including yourself, how come I could never figure you out? Anyway, as the sun sets on our quote unquote fairy tale romance, the bottom line is simple. I was merely in love with a box of letters. So that's what that is. So, yeah. Now we go back to photos. This is something that I like to play with exposure time. And yeah, you like that, Misha? I'm pretty proud of that poem. And I wrote that sitting in a club listening to other people as I had just left this person a couple few weeks prior to start my life over in Florida. This is back to the blueberry patch. I was talking about the hippie commune in St. Petersburg, Florida. At the time, I was shooting on a Nikon. Now I have a Canon. At the beginning, my very first camera I shot on was a Fuji. So I went from Fuji to Nikon, and now I just bought a Canon. And this is actually a hula hoop that it is on fire. And I opened the aperture and the exposure and was able to capture this, which I happen to love. And you can tell it's also, she had moved while I was, why can't it just go to my Facebook app? No password. Oh, thank you, Richard. I appreciate you for voting. And I love this picture. So this is my friend Rachel, and we were in Chicago on the back of a taxi, and we're in a tunnel. And that was the window was down, the wind was blowing in her hair, and I call this wall of light because that is inside of a tunnel. But again, I opened up the aperture and exposure, and this is what I was able to get from it. And I was just blown away when I saw this photo. I was very, very proud of it. She was a really good muse, Rachel, definitely. Again, this is another photo of the GAR castle in Detroit when it was still in ruins. For those of you who weren't here, that was it used to be a Civil War veteran community, which is really cool that's how long that building has been here in Detroit. That is my feet. I have this thing I used to have this thing when I was younger about take a picture of my feet, and that was on the beach, New Smyrna Beach, Florida, and the ocean is behind my feet. I can't explain the way that my artistic eye works. Just feet for free. There you go. Right? This is way before only feet. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's my feet back when I was tan. There's the style station. So that goes with the El Camino with the mannequin on it. And this place was so cool. Right. Those who get it. And that's just the way it is. So this is just it used to be a gas station. And this is off I-35. That's a north to south highway in Texas. I was near Waco because just after this is when I saw the Dr. Pepper Museum. And I was like, You don't like that, Richard? That's a big thing, only people pay you to like step in things. And I don't know, I mean, it's a way to make money. Let's not shame people. I haven't done it, but I have considered it. But this is this great thrift resale store just off the side of an interstate. And I saw it, and the people were so lovely. And the weird thing is, they were originally from Michigan. And I was originally born in Texas, actually. Yeah, those Coke discs, those are actually worth quite a bit of money now. But I bought a bunch of stuff from them and stayed there for a couple hours. They were fantastic. I have no idea if that place is still there, but if anyone's in Texas, anywhere near Waco off I-35, let me know if the Style Station's still around. And this is all like kind of like we're kind of doing a photo roulette, because I don't know which ones are going to come up next. All right, let's see. So, this is the other side of the 10 buried 1950s Cadillacs on the side of I-40 in Amarillo, Texas. And I would stop here every time I would go I-40 across the country and spray paint something. And one of the times, this time actually, when I took these pictures, Tony from the Shattered Dreams poem, Carhenge, yes, that is. Hey, Mandy, it's good to see you. Love you too. So that's what they call this. They call it Carhenge. And this is 10 1950s Cadillacs that are half buried on a slant in the dirt in Amarillo, Texas. And I had a lot of fun, but this time I had spray painted Tony as a superhero, because Tony did survive the car accident, though he did suffer a traumatic brain injury. But I love this place, Carhenge. It's a lot of fun. Okay, this right here, I call this Run, because this is the photo from inside an abandoned women's prison in Michigan. And it's real rundown. I have some other photos of it, but I loved, as you can see, everyone can see that I love to play with light, natural light in my photos, because it's the gift that keeps on giving. And, you can use it however you want to. And I love the reflection and against the metal of the bars. And then this was the door for the recreation department. You can see the paint's very chipped off, but I love the script, right? The font, as we would say now online, of recreation department. So I thought that was an interesting photo. Back to the inauguration. I thought I had these all correctly, but what I did is I stayed with friends in Baltimore, because it'd be too expensive to stay in DC for the inauguration. So I happened to catch that somebody had this on the floor of the subway train. And we were on our way to the inauguration, and everybody in there was going to the inauguration, and you could just feel the energy and the excitement, and seeing that paper. I don't know. It was quite a moment for me. And I was actually sitting on the floor because there's nowhere else to be. Shut up, Kimmy. You were 10. Oh my gosh. I was 30. I was 38. So thanks. I could be your mama. And this guy, I have another picture and I can't find it, but I have another photo of this man. And it's in color. And I had a long conversation with him. I had a long conversation with a lot of these. I know, like I was a little older than 10. I had a lot of conversations, because there was 2 million people there. And I can attest for that, because I was there. And I do have a photo showing. And it was just such a moment. And this man was an immigrant from a Middle Eastern nation, and was just so incredibly excited and happy, and obviously very patriotic. And I think that right now a photo like this has a lot of significance in America, as we all know. Again, back to the abandoned house, and just again the beauty of the woods. And what a shame. I don't know. I like dichotomies. I like to show. Oh, stop it. Okay, so this is me in the process of actually I'm pulling the metal off of the edge of this window, which I actually sanded down, and it looked really cool again with the mix of different colors as you sanded. I just had it. I didn't paint on the glass. I just put it up on the wall and it looked really, really cool. But this is just my process of how I would work on these windows. And you have to pull metal off of it. You have to take the if you want to take like these handles off of it, you can. I didn't. I just sanded them down to metal. So yeah, so that's a process. Also, I love these slipper boots because they're University of Michigan colors. There's our other fire dancer, and that is also just a hula hoop on fire. And that is the second girl that was doing it. And then around it, you can see the crew. This place, the Blueberry Patch in St. Petersburg, was so special. I wanted to live there, but I would go there every weekend. And I caught so many photos, and we did so many sing-alongs and dancing, and it was a magical place. And I wonder if it's still going. Maybe I'll look that up. I don't know. Now this takes us back to that abandoned building with the exit written. And this was inside deeper, and everything that you see here that's reflecting, that is all water because the ceiling is collapsing. And then again, in the basement, like I said, was a man not alive. It sounds terrible, but like a popsicle because his leg was sticking out of the ice. Now people put pics in the glass window. Yeah. Yes, they do. And what makes me really sad is when I lived in Nashville, I could get these, I would get 20 at a time of these old windows that people were throwing away because they were, just getting rid of them to put new windows on, or the houses were getting torn down. And I moved back to Michigan, and they're all for sale for like $20 a window. And I'm like, I'm not paying $20 a window when I'm going to redo it as something else and sell it, which I never really ended up selling anything. I just gave them as gifts to people. But this is inside that abandoned warehouse in Detroit. And you can just tell these pillars were ready to go. But I love urban exploring, and I can't say that I love urban decay and blight, but I do like to highlight it because I think that we need to, oh, that's okay. I'll see you in a bit. But I think that we need to capture it and discuss it and call it out. And Detroit has, unfortunately, a lot. This is a really cool old factory it's not necessarily downtown Baltimore, but like on the water in Baltimore. And it had become a Barnes and Noble, and a really beautiful Barnes and Noble on the inside. But just the 4 smokestacks and just the beauty of the brick of this building really caught my eye. But again, I was drawn right here to this little area of the cloud, and it kind of looks like Abraham Lincoln in profile speaking. I don't know. Again, this is my eye. What can I say? So, yeah, there's that. And then this is back into the abandoned women's prison. This is another exit. And this one's grainy, but I wanted it to be grainy because it's a prison. And I don't think prisons should be pretty, whether they're active or rotting. It doesn't matter. I call this one Pills. Now, this is Detroit also. And again, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of my stuff is a bit askew because this is troubling. So this is just trash dumped in an alley. And what you don't see, but I can point out, is there are dozens, you see these orange things, there are dozens of prescription pill bottles just dumped in this. And it was a power plant in Baltimore. That is correct. It used to be a power plant, and then they turned it into a bookstore. It's funny, but it's beautiful. And I love Baltimore. Absolutely love Baltimore. It's affectionately called Little Detroit because it is a lot like Detroit. But this is in Detroit in a neighborhood called Brush Park, which used to be just you would see like the most stunning homes, and people that owned the property, they just let them rot. Some have been saved, but very few, unfortunately, compared to the blocks and blocks of homes that they had. And this is just how our city treated things for a long time. This is another house in Brush Park that was just crumbling. It's gone now. They tore that one down. But they had to put that fence up because people were going inside. And now is this is at the Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and there is a floor. These are actually 10 heavy bags of Jesus with the 10 commandments on them. And Keith Haring did these, and it was so powerful to be in that room and see these things. You couldn't touch them. But I also have like a diagonal photo of them, and it just blew my mind. And they also had his painted elephant statue. I'm telling you, Richard, the homes were stunning. Like I could show old photos of that neighborhood, and it was just breathtaking, right just outside of downtown Detroit. So yeah, these are Keith Haring's Jesus bags, heavy bags. This was at my friend's diner in Detroit, and this was a working national cash register. And I loved that so much that, that they used this cool old cash register. So I had to photograph it. And now this is one of the collages that I'm most proud of. And I had started to do it. And obviously, this is an old photo of downtown Manhattan. And then I did a thing of American Panic with a flag. And then this is a piece of mirror glass. And the young busboy with Robert Kennedy and his assassination. It didn't end up like this. I apologize that these are out of order. I call this Homestead. This is a home, and it says "Want me?" Knock on the door, and somebody did live inside this home, but there were no homes around it, and this is something that the city of Detroit is 180 square miles. Like you could fit Manhattan and San Francisco inside Detroit city limits. So you find a lot of these neighborhoods where you'll have a house or three, and then the rest of everything is just fields, urban fields now. But this one caught my eye. He kind of draws attention to himself, but at the same time, he's saying, like, stay away. Again, back to the house in Antioch, just all the trash that they threw out, but the beautiful scenery of the wooded area behind the house. The happiness you seek. That's an interesting statement, don't you think? I used to be one of those people who bought into seeking happiness. What do you really want out of life? Someone would ask, to which I would answer, to be happy. Oh, the things we learned during our journey. Something important I finally figured out during my descent through hell in the last year, this was 2010, is that happiness is not a thing you can obtain. It is not and should not be made a goal in life. It is not an ending to anything. It is merely a feeling you either allow or do not allow into your soul. At our core, I believe that most people, including myself, are good. Call me a fool, but after all I've seen and done, I am still an optimist. Still am today. I am still, when I lost my place, I am still an optimist. I believe in me, and honestly, I'm starting to realize that may be all I need. Sure, it's nice to receive approval from others, but I don't really need it anymore, not entirely, or at least not from the people I sought it from for so many years. To quote Neil Young, it doesn't mean that much to me to mean that much to you. In the eyes of some, I will never amount to anything. I will never overcome the opinion of myself that I have put out into their minds. I will always be a failure, a liar, a drug addict, a thief, a lost soul. I am finally okay with people thinking that of me. It is not my responsibility to change the opinions of others, nor is it my responsibility to argue the validity of each of these claims. I still feel that way, and I still don't defend against things that are untrue. Some days I don't get out of bed. Some days I can't shower. Some days I'm angry at nothing in particular. Some days are spent crying for the loss I've put myself through, and some days are spent crying for those who have left the rest of us behind to miss them. Luckily, though, lately, I am happy more. I smile sometimes. I work tirelessly to put this project I have dreamed of for years together so that we can share it with the world. My dreams are becoming a reality against all odds, and that not only makes me smile, but it makes me happy. I do not seek happiness. I don't need to. It comes to me whenever I allow it in. I wish that for everyone else in the world, to allow happiness in, even if you feel like you're drowning, you can't breathe, you can't scrape yourself off the sofa, you hate your reflection in the mirror, nobody loves you. Whatever negative excuse we can all come up with at any given moment, let it go and be happy. Go for a walk, listen to music and dance, even if you have no rhythm. Sing your favorite song at the top of your lungs, even if it makes your neighborhood dogs sing with you. Jump in puddles, no matter your age. Dance in the rain. Laugh until you cry. Do it for you and no one else. That is the answer to healing, smiling, and finding happiness, at least in my opinion. 2012. Now, this is another collage painting I did for a friend who was on a weight loss journey and was doing really good. And so that what you see, the shades of brown and orange into yellow is a body figure. We don't have to say it's female, but to me, it was a female figure. Yeah, I like that one. It's very specific to the person that I gave it to. Now, this is another photo on the other side of the Renaissance Center from Franklin Avenue in Detroit. And this is my favorite building in Detroit. And they're getting ready to tear all of these buildings down. And it's going to look weird. Just saying, they're putting two globes at the base of the middle building, which is it used to be a Westin. I think it's still a Westin since GM left and abandoned it. So it's going to look like something very phallic. And I find that to be strange. And I feel bad for everybody in Windsor, Ontario, Canada that has to look at that. This is from Inauguration Day. This is the reflecting pond at the National Mall looking from Lincoln Memorial to another fallacy, the Washington Monument. And I kind of loved this because it was frozen, but you could still see the monument in the reflection. Again, I'm down low. I really like to get down into a photo. Definitely love to do that. This here is Detroit sunset, actually from my apartment in Hamtramck, Michigan. And it just was, the colors were so stunning that I absolutely loved it. And I didn't have to edit anything about that photograph. This right here is the incredibly beautiful, I can't even begin to tell you, hotel on Mackinac Island in Michigan. There was a film, a very famous film, movie filmed here called Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeves and, oh my gosh, Jane Seymour. Absolutely stunning, beautiful. This hotel is classic. It's so old. It's been there forever, and it is literally grand. They named it correctly. It's stunning. It's so large and beautiful. Back to the abandoned house in Antioch again. I do love natural light. And now we're back to the prison, and this is a cell block, and you can see behind the bars here are individual cells, and they were all isolated cells. They were all, the haunted island. Yeah, it is actually, but it's beautiful. And also, just to give you an idea, one more thing about Mackinac Island is, you see that right there? That's a horse and buggy. There are no cars on Mackinac Island, which I love, except for the ambulance and the fire truck. And there is actually one maintenance pickup truck that they keep by the airport, but there's no cars. It's all horses and buggies, and now e-bikes. Obviously, people are using e-bikes, but it's a beautiful 8 square mile island of peace, and I love it there. So that again is back to the prison. this, I love it. I call this One Way or Another. Yes, I did steal that from Blondie. This is in Manhattan at 2nd Avenue. I want to say St. Charles Place, but I'm not sure. But so you have two one-way street signs, and I just thought how cool it was where I was standing that I caught one on this sign and way on the other side. Again, I do love irony. So that's One Way or Another. This is the Detroit New Life Rescue Mission in downtown Detroit. And this is, so it's not open during the day. But you have to be there by around 3:30 in the afternoon. And all of it is, as most rescue missions around the country are run by churches. So you have all of this church stuff. You know, the Bible says, what must I do to be saved? The Bible says, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ. And I can't remember what the rest of it says. The funny thing is that there's a piece of graffiti on the back of this building that says vomit. And I did take a picture of that, but I didn't include it in my submissions. And this is me. So in the process of making that same collage that you had seen earlier, so I changed things around a little bit, and this was my process. And you see all my cuttings here, and then my wood board to cut things more precisely, my glue, everything that I needed for this. And I can't wait to get to the actual finished collage because I'm very proud of it. Again, this is another photo of the switcher. I'm a little bit higher up in this one and closer here to the switch itself. And the train's getting closer. That train was blowing its horn at me like crazy. And I love this. This is great. So there's wet paint on these doors, and they taped the sign on the ground. Who touched wet paint? Who touched the wet paint? And I just, you know what? I don't know. I'm a weirdo. And that's my feet. And I thought that was funny. And then there's this guy, it's Mr. Burns from The Simpsons there. Oh, this is me. You were allowed to change that explanation. Life doesn't owe anyone a neatly typed letter justifying why you've become someone new. If they question you, let them. Their confusion isn't your responsibility. Your evolution is personal, private, written quietly inside the messy pages of your own story. No apologies, no reasons. Just you shifting, becoming, living honestly, even if it confuses the hell out of everyone else. And this is a chalkboard that I made for my friend Amy, who I had done the brown collage for. And she loves purple. So this one I painted in purple, and then took like a lavender with a sponge and went around on this. Don't mind the writings on it. I love that she uses it actually. And then she made me sign it down at the bottom. And I did write, I wrote pretty much all of this stuff. And then her boyfriend wrote that. That's his self-portrait on it. And this is a photo of something that's very meaningful. This is in Hart Plaza, again, where that fountain is. And what you see here is this was the end, the United States end of the Underground Railroad. And across the water of the Detroit River, you see Windsor, Ontario, Canada, where many escaped slaves would find their freedom in Canada. And so now there is a forever statue there that is so beautiful. I have another photo of the front of it, but it doesn't hit as much as for me as this one does, of them looking at their ultimate freedom and how much it means to the history of my city and to the fact that it is a majority Black city, which is a beautiful thing. If you live there, you understand that, I don't know, now, there's scary people of every kind everywhere, but in Detroit, everybody says hi to you. If you say hi, they say hi. They'll say hi to you. You talk a little bit, tell them to have a blessed day. It's a beautiful place. Don't tell anybody, though, because I don't want the news getting around. I don't want us to become a big tourist trap. So this is again from the inauguration, and it says hope is an art form, and it's a sticker that somebody put on the cement, and I saw it walking back to the train station after the inauguration ceremony was complete. I want to say something about Obama's inauguration. There was 2 million people there. I've said that twice, I think, already. But the really great thing is when he finished, giving the oath of office, people started like making out, and it was it was wild. I have pictures of like 4 different couples like kissing, and it was a really beautiful moment, for our country. And this is a really cool art installation on a brick wall that used to be a part of a building in downtown Detroit. I think Kid Rock used it for one of his music video backgrounds. These are all really important things. Okay, so we've got Fishing with Dad, Boys Night Out, The Price of Gas, More Jobs, September 11th, My Grandma Being Safe, Birds, Ford, Justice, Bringing the Troops Home, a healthy pregnancy, quitting smoking for my kids, Free Will, um, Dogs and Cats, Voting, The Working Class, the Local Police, Church, Rock and Roll, Love, American History, Flag, The Economy, Passion, A Good Coat for Winter, Being Able to Retire at a Reasonable Age, GM, Then Civil Rights. Oh, right. Yeah, Then Civil Rights. Clean Water, The Ocean, Eating Healthy, Happy, The Homeless, Respect, Keeping Guns Away from Schools, Hope, Patriotism, College Football, Commitment, My Father's Career, Seeing My Daughter Graduate, Dreams and Fear, Heaven, Watch Hockey, My Credit, I Care, Our Hope, Exercising, Rebuilding. I mean, this is such a powerful art installation to me. It's not there anymore, but it was very important to me at the time of taking this photograph, which would have been 2011. And there's the other photo of the 10 Commandments on heavy bags, which is, I mean, Keith Haring, I think, was an artistic genius, but that's just me. And again, for anyone who missed that, that's at the Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I used to have this traveling companion doll, and I named her Clementine. It's one of my favorite movies is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And, I have a niece, and she was born in 2008. And her father's sister, her other auntie, also did marketing. She did car shows. So we were both gone all the time. So I was going to write this children's book, and it was called The Adventures of Clementine the Great. And I started doing inspiration photos. This is me in Seattle. And I had a chocolate martini, but actually I didn't. Clementine drank it, and she got really messed up, and she got in a lot of trouble. So I was taking these photos just for inspiration for whoever was going to illustrate the book for me. I wouldn't have done the drunken thing, but it was just funny to me at the time to take this picture of her with this drink and see the bartender behind. They don't even care. That's what I loved about I didn't say, well, look at how little she is, though. Unfortunately, I don't have her, martinis in a children's book. What could go wrong? Don't worry. Later on, she goes to jail because she got in trouble gambling with a guy in 1880s town at a saloon, and she hurt him and ended up in jail. So I had 2 storylines going on, right? One was the clean children's book, and one was my twisted brain Adventures of Clementine the Great. And I don't have her anymore. I call this broken. This is a self-portrait I took in the rear view mirror of a car in an art installation, which is in a neighborhood called the Heidelberg Project. I suggest that you look it up. It's really cool. The artist is Tyree Guyton is his name. Good man, great artist. And that was just how I felt in that moment. And I feel like this was way before, gosh, this had to be Let me look at that. 2019 is when that photo was taken. And I actually took that with my phone. But I love it. It really speaks to me. And I love the colors. This is a abandoned motel somewhere on the East Coast, southeast, obviously, because it's the Robert E. Lee Motel. It's air conditioned, even though there's trees growing out of it. And I just find these kind of things. I don't know what it is about abandoned properties and the earth reclaiming itself that I love so much, but I love it. That was a fun photo. I pulled over for that. Now we're back to the prison, and these are the cells. And obviously, everything is. Oh, Frank's in the background. That's not normal. Here she comes. Hey, Bean. Okay, you're gonna get in the way of the pictures. There it is. This is my favorite collage that I've ever done, and I did end up keeping downtown Manhattan in 43. It's important. That's one of the presidents. You can look it up. I'm not giving everything away. But so the main thing you have here is Miss Me. And then Lips starting over, Bad, Backstage Pass. And then I have Kurt Cobain in a dress, Axel. I might have taken that photo. I'm not sure. And I've got some Warhol stuff over here, a little thing of Thelma and Louise. And I've got Edie Sedgwick, who was she was very special to me. She was used and discarded by Andy Warhol, the Buddha and the ballerina, and then this beautiful picture of me and my sister at her wedding that I absolutely love. Down here is Florida, because I do have this love affair of Florida. The kayak, the earth, the moon, and the moon is way bigger than the earth. A couple in a bathtub, and the guy's grabbing a cigarette, and then also a bottle of wild turkey. Yeah, it's just so much fun. I love this. I don't have this anymore either, which makes me really sad, but I was very proud of that collage. This is the Sunset Pig, and Joni Mitchell sings about it in the song California. This is a flying pig on a pole on Malibu Canyon Drive just before you hit the Pacific Coast Highway. And I loved this flying pig. And I managed to find it because of that song. I was, when I lived out there, I was I was just determined to find this thing, and I did. No, why is it on there twice? Oh, this is Hamster Wheel. Sweetie, honey. Okay, so Frank, she likes to chase the cursor, but that doesn't do any good for me. All right, so this is called Hamster. Ambition is the last refuge of the failure. Oscar Wilde. The words of Oscar Wilde seem to speak so directly to me in whatever situation I find myself in. Who knows? Maybe if I spent more time writing down my own words, I wouldn't rely so heavily on others. You can't sit there. I'm sure it's quite obvious to whoever is left reading this that I have been going yet another major life change, several, in fact. I realized yesterday that I haven't written a new blog post since August. It's a pretty big stretch for me and explains a lot about why I have been feeling stifled yet again. I seem to get so caught up in whatever bullshit drama I create for myself that I lose my creative drive and focus. I just give up all over again and again and again. In the eyes of many, coming home to Detroit after not trying nearly enough in Los Angeles, I did not fail. Ask me if I feel that I failed. Ask me if I feel that I failed, and I will say yes. Why? Because I never really fought. I just gave in, crumbled, fell apart, gave in to the negative recordings in my head that tell me I have no creative talent. I will never amount to whatever pipe dream fantasy I have been living in for as long as I can remember. I'm not the Hollywood type, in quotations, that I don't deserve it, that I'm not good enough. Who knows what the truth is? Surely not me. I was never one of those kids who was told I could do anything or be anything I wanted. Honestly, I wasn't told much at all in the way of inspiration, support, or guidance. I realize now that my parents weren't equipped to tell themselves these things, let alone me. There's no fault here, even though for decades I set it squarely on their shoulders. When you stop to think about the damage we gain as broken children, Yeah, our families and environment played a large part in shaping who we are today, but really, who carries on the negative reinforcement? We do. We tell ourselves we aren't good enough. We set ourselves up to fail repeatedly. We sabotage anything good that comes our way. We do all the real long term damage. If we are all truly in control of our own destinies, then why are we all so busy blaming everyone and everything else for our problems, shortcomings, and emotional damage? So here I sit, freezing my ass off, asking myself what I could have done differently to have endured Los Angeles. The answer is pretty simple: nothing. I wasn't capable of saving myself from I wasn't able I wasn't capable of saving myself from complete destruction. I have no idea how, not in that environment. It was the first time in my life where I found myself in a place, in a situation that I couldn't overcome, at least enough to move on to the next mistake. I even found my I even found myself convinced that if I didn't get out of there when I did, that I would die. I believe that to be true, still do, but not necessarily in a literal sense, more metaphorically speaking. Who I am would have died. My faith in me, my fight, my essence, not my actual body. But who knows? Maybe I was even closer to real death than I realized at the time. Getting jumped, robbed, beat up didn't help my disposition much either. Funny thing about that entire experience and my eventual and inevitable exodus is that I miss that place every single day since I boarded the plane to leave. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll go back and try it all over again. So ironic. Okay. Now that I have been back in Detroit for a few months, one thing is clear. From the first time I moved out of here, I've never really wanted to live here. I do love this place and all the people who possess space in my heart, but the idea and practice of me living in this place feels like purgatory to my soul. I just don't feel what I used to, and so many others still do here. I just don't care. I don't know now that there, oh wait, I know now that there is a whole world out there to be explored and experienced. I am a restless soul, and of all places to sit still, I never thought Detroit would be where I found myself once again. Sure, there are good and wonderful things that have happened since my most recent return. There always are. Sadly, the inevitable negatives, at the very least, equal the good, as they always do. What can I say? I know my imagination and dreaming sharply contrast my ability and drive. What, who doesn't think that they are meant for something greater than the life they are living? Please. I'm pretty sure most people convince themselves that just so they can survive their mundane existence. What can I say? Oh wait, what am I really trying to say in this post? So much. Much more than I had the energy for, and too many topics to post at once, sadly. If I continue, this will read like some simplistic high school diary post. Change is inevitable and vital, and a vital part of the life cycle, but I'm tired. In my next post, the 5-pound puppy who awakened my heart facing a possible cancer diagnosis. So yeah, that was 2011, 2012. Oh, Anxiety Girl. This one's really good. I do have to go back to, sorry that I'm just babbling, but the writings to me are just as important as the photos because I am very proud of how I write. So this is called Anxiety Girl. I am now and have always been what I call Anxiety Girl. What I mean by this is that I, for so many years of my life, allowed my anxiety to run and control it. Let me explain a bit further. For the first 30 or so years of my life, I didn't even know what was wrong with me. I researched insatiably for reasons that might explain my intense fear of everything, allowing these fears to run the way I lived my life, and found so many ailments, both mental and physical, that could explain these horrible things I was going through, which turned out to be severe panic attacks, many different kinds that constantly made me feel like I was dying. I was a severe hypochondriac, or so I thought. As a result of the crippling fears of most things that I had developed due to my undiagnosed anxiety issue, it took until about 7 years ago that I was able to pinpoint my underlying issue. I had thought I was depressed, physically ill, many other things, but not having a complete understanding of anxiety, what it was or how it affected and eventually overtakes a person's life to the point where it controls you. Since that time, I have learned so much more about anxiety, but that didn't keep me from continuing to give into it. I just didn't know any better. I spent more than one period of time in an agoraphobic lifestyle, not leaving the house if I could avoid it. And when I did, it brought such terrible anxiety and panic that I would usually take myself out of whatever situation I found myself in, work, social settings, or just taking a walk so I could go back to my safe place, being whatever place I happened to call home at the time. I made up any excuse, no matter what it made me look like to others, and believe me, it turned me into a very unpopular girl for a long time. I still learn every day new ways to cope and try to calm the anxiety. For all I know, this is permanent, but I do still hold out hope that I can overcome this chokehold. I continue to, although it's much smaller now, be a reason in my life. I have to say that being a person without healthcare coverage hurts me tremendously due to the fact that I can't get the amount of help I could use to overcome these things that hold me back. I certainly don't have the money it takes to see a physician regularly, and I also believe that therapy helps a lot, but I can't afford that either. It's a vicious cycle for me, and it frustrated me every day when I allow it to. I have tried multiple medications to help me in shedding my fear, phobias, anxiety, and panic attacks, which have, in some respect, allowed me to live more, to mix with others more comfortably, and to secure a better job and lifestyle. The funny, ironic thing about me finally giving into these drugs is that I have since the age of 17 when I OD'd and had to fight to keep myself alive because everyone around me refused to help me or even just drop me off at a hospital. I have a huge drug phobia. I guess sometimes we just reach a breaking point where, regardless of the phobias surrounding it, one has to turn to medications to see if it works. I hope that in sharing this, it helps me to really face the reality that I may not allow anxiety to run my life. I do still allow it to be involved in it, my decision making, my choices. I think it's a lifelong learning experience. And I do still hope to beat this. It's 24 years ago I wrote this. I also have to say, it might not be true, hang on. I also have to say that of all the medications I have tried to help treat this, there is only one that truly controls my anxiety and allows me to be more of a normal member of society, meaning it allows me to function better, interact with others, etc., without the fear and desperate need to rush home because the fear was screaming inside my head. Oh God, this is so long. I will admit here that I do feel guilty at times for using Xanax to live my life outside of fear. I know exactly where the guilt comes from. It comes from losing so many people to drug abuse. I feel if I am relying on a medication to bury the anxiety, I may not be any better or in a better place than the addicts in and around my life that I ride so hard. I don't know, but I can say that I am tired of feeling guilt for using, not abusing, something that truly does help me get through each day better than anything else I have found. Still, though, I know so many people struggle with addiction to this drug, hence the uncertainty and guilt. I stated in another blog that there have been times in the years since I've started taking Xanax that I have used it as a crutch, more of a crutch than a tool. I am fully aware of that. And every time it happened, I checked myself and cut the Xanax completely out of my life for weeks just to get it out of me and see how well I could function. Sad reality of it is that I can't live or cope as well when I'm off the stuff. That really pisses me off. All I want is to feel normal, to cope better with life and all the pitfalls and disappointments that come with it. I would rather do that without the aid of drugs, but I may not ever be able to do that. Yet I always have hope. I can't even list the bad experiences I have had with anxiety ruining my life, taking things away from me that I had worked so hard to achieve and just flat out freaked out in public settings. I have left my friends at concerts, couldn't ride in cars for a time without the panic setting in, leaving work at different phases in my life due to almost debilitating anxiety. I have had panic attacks where I was certain I was about to die, fainting, having my legs give out on me, not being able to breathe, throat closing, dizziness, and lightheadedness. You name the symptom, I've had it. What I wouldn't give to get rid of all that. I don't even know how many times in my life I have run to the nearest restroom to splash cold water on my face just to help me start breathing again. I have a lot to learn still, better coping mechanisms, better ways to breathe, as I am a shallow mouth breather. This makes medication difficult for me, as well as yoga and any calming or breathing exercises. Meditation, not medication. This does not mean I'm not willing to learn. I am. I have been on a journey of discovering practical and not medicinal ways of working through this challenge. I will continue to fight this as hard as it is. I know I'm worth fighting for, damn it, because I want to live happily for at least half the amount of difficult or bad years that I have. I don't do this to be all there. I don't want this to be all there is. I won't accept it. It feels so good to get things off my chest. As every step, every fear and issue I face, it brings me one step closer to living a fuller, happier life. And that's all I have ever wanted. And I wrote that April 22nd, 2010. Wow, that was a long time ago. So that, my friends, is my submission, my portfolio submission to the People's Artist. I'm going to go ahead and stop. So, oh, thank you. It was my therapy. Writing, journaling, blogging was definitely my therapy for a long time. Still is, actually, to this day. So those are all of my photos, my writings, my collages, and my window art that I submitted to the People's Artist. And I do have in the description and a couple times in the live chat that either I, myself, or Misha put in the live chat, the link to, and you can vote every day. There's still 8 days left in order to get into the top 20. I'm sitting pretty good right now in my group. I'm number 5 in my group, but I'm doing this video and I'm going to do some stuff on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and everywhere to try to promote myself, even though it makes me severely uncomfortable. I'm not afraid to do live streams, but I mean, to promote myself feels weird, but I'm doing it because I can't even explain to those of you that don't know how difficult it was for me to even put this profile together and submit it and enter this competition, because in my mind, I don't believe I'm worthy, but the other side of my mind believes that I am, and I know that I am, and that's why I'm pushing. So that's all that I have for today. I just wanted to say, please check out my profile. If you like it, vote for me every day. If you don't. Doesn't matter. I will also leave a link in the comments after the stream is over. And I would like to thank all 5 of the people that showed up for me. I know that this was very last minute, and I am not necessarily consistent with streaming. But thank you for watching. Thank you for keeping me company. And as always, be kind to somebody. Take care of you. Bye.